Well, welcome to the shop. Today, got it kind of emptied out and organizing it and trying to find homes for all the different things I have. But anyway, I've got a little project going on today. I've got to cut some metal. Now, there's lots of ways to cut metal, as I'm sure you're all aware. Probably the most familiar thing people have in their garage or their metal cutting toolbox would be a hacksaw. Very effective for cutting metal. There's other things too. You've got, you could use torches. The different tip than this. That's just a tip for heating things up, but they make a metal cutting tip for torches. There's circular saw blades. See that one? That one's for cutting steel. There's grinder cutoff wheels. That's for cutting metal. But then there's this beauty I picked up last month from my old friend Pete Hendrickson. This is a Wellsaw. This is a bandsaw made for cutting metal. So that's the blade there. And it goes up and around and around and around and around and slowly cuts metal, which gets clamped up in this vise down here. Now I've made a couple of cuts with this saw. It doesn't cut perfectly straight, but it cuts pretty straight. Look at that. Cut a piece of angle iron with it. You could cut this angle iron with a hacksaw too. It wouldn't be as straight as that most likely, but this beauty is really good for cutting metal. Look at that. There's a chunk of railroad iron I cut with this thing. Cut it right off, just like that. Pretty cool. Well, today's project, this is a gas pressure relief for a gas system. And what I want to do, actually this is just the shell for the relief, but I want to make a cutaway. I want to cut a quarter of this out so you can see the internal components in it. Now the trick that I've got to accomplish at the moment is figure out a good way to chuck this up in this vise so that it cuts as close to where I want it to cut as possible. But anyway, this old Wellsaw, this was probably made in the 50s, maybe the 40s, possibly the 60s. They didn't change much about these for a lot of years. The company still is in business. Made in Three Rivers, Michigan. But there's some issues with this. This is broken right here, and that is the adjustment for allowing it to cut perfectly straight, and I'll fix that at some point. But for my purposes at the moment, all I need to do is get a relatively straight cut on this regulator. I'll see if I can get it chucked up in there to make the cut. Okay, so I've got the pressure relief chucked up in the vise. I don't have it really the way I wanted to do it. I wanted to try and cut a quarter of it out from here down and then from there down. So just a quarter of this will be missing, but I can't effectively figure out a way to chuck this odd shape up into the vise in the time I want to spend on this. I know I could rig up some form of a jig to make this work, but it's not that important. It's just a little test thing I'm doing for work, for fun. Anyway, get this fired up, and the way it works, you see right now it's resting on this pawl in this tooth arrangement to keep the saw from dropping down. And it's got this shock absorber. It's not really a shock absorber, but it is a hydraulic cylinder of sorts that allows this to slowly drop down and cut through the metal. And you can regulate the speed by adjusting this weight along this slide rail. If you wanted to cut faster or apply more pressure, you'd put it way out at the end here. This weighs, I'll bet this weighs probably 5 pounds. So it's a pretty good chunk of weight. For a slower cut, you'd put it back closer to the pivot point. And that's where I'll have it. This is only an aluminum housing, so it should cut fairly easily. But I don't have a lot of confidence in how well it's clamped in the vise. It's pretty firm there. And I'll just start out with light pressure on it so it slowly cuts through this thing. I can't really clamp it that hard because this being aluminum, cast aluminum, this vise would easily crush this. So I don't want to mess with that. If this fails, I'll try something else, like maybe splitting it in half and attaching each half to a block that I can more effectively clamp in the vise. But anyway, time to plug it in and put the power to it. See what happens. Okay, about ready to power it up. Safety glasses on. Even though this blade turns at a slow rate of speed, it isn't flying around really fast. Even with it turning slowly and my ability to not be near the machine, still want to wear safety glasses just in case. Power buttons here. What's really cool, like when I cut the railroad iron, it took probably 15-20 minutes of cutting to get through it. Now it doesn't work on this right now, but when this saw mechanism gets all the way down here, this had a lever on it that pushed down on this, pushing this rod over towards the on-off switch, and it actually shut the machine off when it got to a certain point. That doesn't work, so I have to pay some attention to it. But right now, we'll get this back a little bit. We'll hit the power, see what happens. I don't know if you can see how fast that's turning, but it doesn't move very fast. So, we'll kick the pawl off here. Let's see what happens. See, it's slowly dropping down. And it just made contact. Oh, it's not. That's not going to work. Let's try another way of getting that chocked in. Okay, second attempt. I installed a plug back in the side of this here that should give some more stability. So I've got 3 decent points of contact, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Power on, safety glasses on. Release the Kraken. And away it goes. see that that's not going to line up with my first cut. It's not going to cut anything I wanted to cut. Well, okay, maybe third time's the charm. I've got it lined up. It's going to hit just about exactly where my first attempt at the cut was. Hopefully it'll go all the way through. If it doesn't, I might just abandon this project for now because I've got better things to do. I just really wanted to try this out and hopefully have it made before I go to work tomorrow. So, anyway, power on. All released. I'm going to try and slow down its entry into the metal. Once it gets started, it should be okay, but it's just that getting started bit. So far, so good. Cutting pretty quickly, actually. Being just aluminum, that's no surprise. Hopefully it's cutting deep enough so we can actually see the inner workings of this when it's all said and done. I really don't want to adjust this up to put it back together to make another cut, but doing what it should do. Now it's getting into a little bit more metal into the main body of the housing. So it's slowing down a little bit. I've removed all of the inner workings of this pressure relief, and I should be able to reinstall it, all the parts, to give an idea of how the thing works. Well, we're completely through the top section. Now going into the bottom section. We'll probably pick up a little speed again. As long as it stays in there, hopefully. It might not be able to make it all the way through. We might make contact with the top. Oh, look at that. Hot dog. It worked. Power off. Check it out. There'll be a lot of burrs on here I don't want to touch. That's going to be the scrap piece, but there. You can see completely inside the housing. Very cool. It should do exactly what I want it to do. And there we have it. The finished product. This is a pressure relief for, in my case, natural gas. But they could be used for any compressed gases. And what it does is the supply side of gas fits right into here. And if, for some reason, enough pressure, if the gas system were to overpressure, I can't close it or open this with my finger, but that pressure would push against this spring and open up and vent gases out that way, preventing an overpressured situation for the downstream side of the gas system, and that prevents the appliances on the receiving end of the gas from getting damaged by overpressure. So this is just a safety device. It prevents the appliances or anything else from overpressure and potentially leaking and filling a place with gas or causing other problems. But and the pressure can be adjusted by running this screw up against this spring. The tighter it gets, the more pressure this is will open at, and the further out this is backed, the lower the pressure. But anyway, there it is, exactly what I wanted to do. Pretty cool. Thanks for watching.